The biggest mistake I made in my business was not hiring a professional to help me with my money. Not just my taxes, but the actual plan I had for my business. I was completely lost on how to handle taxes, what to do with profit, and how to maintain my income. I had to find a better way. That's when I found Core Financial. Core Financial is a team of tax professionals that actually care about building real relationships with their clients. They run my books, keep me up to date with my finances, and make sure I'm taking full advantage of all of my tax benefits. Are you struggling with your finances? Look no further. Core Financial is a brand that is nationwide that can help you with your business. Both Nick and I are huge fans of Core, and they can help you too. Check out howtofilmweddings.com/core to schedule a consultation today. Core Financial, real relationships, no surprises. It seems like there are new cameras and equipment coming out all the time. It gets incredibly confusing and the FOMO is real. Nick and I have been preaching for years that the best way to try out new gear is to rent before you buy. And there is only one place we recommend when it comes to renting, and that is our friends over at Lens Rentals. Lens Rentals is the premier source for renting not only camera equipment, but lenses, drones, projectors, and more. Have a big project coming up and you need to really wow your couple? Wanting to test out the newest camera before you drop thousands on it? You need Lens Rentals. My favorite thing is that if I love something I rent, I can keep it. They apply a portion of the rental fee to the purchase price, and with a few simple clicks, that gear is mine. Check out the latest promo codes and promotions at howtofilmweddings.com/lensrentals. Lens Rentals, the only place we recommend renting.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller. I am joined with John Bunn. Today we are talking about all sorts of fun stuff.
It's an episode full of stuff, and you will learn about that stuff during the episode full of stuff. Nick, last week we made a huge announcement. Calibrate Workshop is coming. It is almost here, August 4th and 5th. If you haven't heard about it, it's a 2-day online workshop where we have 15 of the world's best wedding videographers, wedding filmmakers, whatever you want to call them, talking over 2 days, giving you incredible value, a lot of good things. Hundreds of you have signed up, which is pretty crazy. I mean,
amazing.
It's been great. But today, one of our speakers, Kathryn from Blnk Films, is on our podcast talking to us about stuff, like Nick said. But in all seriousness, we talk a lot about branding and how great she's been at it, what it's done for her, how she infuses that into her wedding films. A lot of good things going on, Nick. Anything good going on in your world? Anything you want to add? I just kind of jumped into it.
Oh no, it's good. Actually, we're recording a little bit into the future, right? Like we're behind.
Into the
it's
future.
Coming up. Yeah, and as of the drop date of this, I will be in Chicago celebrating my 40th birthday that happens in November. My wife wanted to do something fun for me, and I like baseball. I've always wanted to go to Chicago, so we're going to Chicago to go to a Cubs game and other stuff. So that's where I am this minute when this drops.
That is great. Yes, we are coming up. I mean, what are we? Is it like a couple of days away? Or no, it's about 10 days away from the workshop. So a lot of things going on. If you haven't heard about it, check out Calibrate Workshop. But let's jump in to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast.
Okay.
All right, well, we are here with Kathryn from Blnk Films. She is back. Kathryn, say hello to How to Film Weddings. How have you been, our good friend?
Oh, it's so good to be back. I can't believe it's been nearly 100, I think just about 100 episodes since last time I was on here. And a lot has changed. I'm so excited to be back. It's always an honor to join you guys for conversation. But things are good. Business is good. I'm happy.
Good. Well, I know a lot's changed, and yes, it has been. I think it was episode 56 we were talking about before we hit record when you were on last, so 100 or so episodes ago. For those that haven't heard that episode, be sure to check it out. Lots of good stuff there. But just to kind of refresh people, who are you? Where are you from? How long you been in business? Just give us a little bio.
Yes, so my name is Kathryn. I am the filmmaker owner behind Blnk Films. I started Blnk Films in March of 2017. let's see, filmed my first wedding back in 2015. If you really want the whole story, again, refer to episode 56. You can hear the whole backstory to what got me into filmmaking there. But since then, I mean, within 4 years of business, it's amazing just how your mindset changes from being a new business owner and now establishing the true confidence of being a more advanced filmmaker, I guess you could say. I have some years under my belt and some more experience and have really built up that confidence. But I would say since 2019, you know, I've really focused on continuing to hone in on my voice, who I am, really diving into my brand and using that to attract my audience and the type of experiences that I want to create for my couples. By the time all the listeners are listening to this, I will have moved into my new office space. I've been working from home ever since I started this business, and it's a super, super exciting time for Blnk. A lot of changes are going to be happening in my business. And my second shooter, Jill, and I have now opened an office space. It's going to be a shared space with a studio, places that we can film out of. Just really, you know, taking my business to the next level. So that's what awesome. I'm focused on right now.
That is incredibly neat. Nick, you have anything you want to add? You're looking handsome over there.
Oh, thanks. No, I'm just listening. I love hearing, you know, how you've, you know, grown and moved into, and just, you know, where you're headed in your business in the direction. And, you know, I know it's always exciting whenever you're making a big business move, you know, opening up, you know, going into a new studio or wherever. Has this been something that's kind of been a long time coming, or were you just like one day you were just kind of talking and you're like, this might be a good idea, and then like a couple weeks later you had an office? What was that like?
Oh my gosh, it's been quite the process and a major labor of love. For those who don't know, and Jill, you'll be seeing a lot more of Jill in my business too. She is a hidden gem. She films every wedding with me, and we've been best friends since middle school and each found our own passion for filmmaking. She owns her own business, focusing on business videos, but we realized that our skill sets are quite opposite. And when we put our minds together, there's really a lot that we can accomplish. So outside of our friendship, we have a really incredible working relationship that we've been working on over the past 5 or 6 years. And it got to a point in our businesses where we've reached that point of where our initial goals were. You know, when I think about Blnk Films and what my goals were in 2017, the crazy thing is, like, I've accomplished what I initially set out to do, and my mind has just expanded. So Jill reached the same place in her business, and we decided to join forces. Initially, we're like, man, should we just start an entirely new business and join forces there? But we realized that what we're each doing separately is working, and we just want to involve each other more in what we do. And it gets to the point, you know, you wear so many hats in your business that doing it all solo, it's really a beneficial thing to start thinking about how you can expand that to grow your business and make it that much more successful. So a lot of our goals aligned, and we ended up finding an office space right across from Union Station in downtown. And that's where we'll be day in and day out. So I'm really cool. Excited for the opportunities that will come with collaboratively working with someone under the same roof. It's really going to be awesome.
So if you want to maybe like bump into Kathryn, a celebrity in our industry, just kind of hang around downtown Denver and maybe you'll get a peek, just the station, just wait there. Maybe you'll see her or Jill. No, that's actually really awesome. And I'm excited to see what else you guys do, just being together and the creativity that you have. And you mentioned something about having a list of all these goals and you've accomplished them. I think a lot of people don't even really set attainable goals. So I know that you, like, in the last year, a lot has happened for you, like on the educational space, and just you've gone from, you know, in 2017, 100 episodes ago, like we had you on our podcast. Not that that was like the breakthrough moment and people didn't know of you before that, because people were really excited to have you on. But you've moved into a position where others, it seems as though, are really interested in what you have to say. about running your business, how you're doing your films. You won last year the Filmmaker of the Year from Love Stories TV, which was super cool to see you do that. So congratulations on that. What was
Thank
that
you so
like?
much.
I'll do a small detour.
Oh.
What did that do for you?
Whoa. I think I still have this story highlight on my Instagram. I remember when the announcement came out of the nominees, I was completely flabbergasted to see my name nominated for Filmmaker of the Year and Film of the Year. I nearly dropped dead in that moment. Love Stories TV was honestly, it was one of the things that kind of got me into watching wedding films before I ever turned it into a business. So to see your heart and soul that you've like devoted to your brand make it to a nomination like that was really incredible. And then that nomination was like cool enough for me. I'm like, wow, you know, other names in there, Sculpting with Time was nominated for Filmmaker of the Year. And I remember telling my family, I was just like, wow, you guys, this is so huge. I'm so excited. And then when the awards came and Lindsay from La Rev announced my name as the Filmmaker of the Year, I was so taken aback by emotion. I think it was just like, it was so much bigger than an award for me because it just brought me back to what I set out to accomplish when I was just dreaming up this business. And to see that be recognized and have my art really like resonate with people, that meant more than I can even express to me. So that was a huge stepping stone just in my confidence and growth in my business, being able to say, you know, I believe in what I do, but other people believe in what I do also, you know?
Yeah. Very much so. And it's so fun to watch because I remember, you know, first finding you and you talk about people enjoying your art and that's exactly what your work is. You know, you're very much leaning into not trying to be somebody else, but you're just, you know, if anyone hasn't watched Kathryn's films, they're unreal, they're super great, they're super thoughtful, they're super deep, they're just all around like amazing pieces of art that you can tell she spent probably way more time than she initially tried to on each one of those films, but it's just kind of that kind of work where you're just like, okay, wow, this person is an artist. And so we're really excited to talk about that. I do want to, if you didn't know and you're out there listening, Kathryn, you are also one of our speakers at our workshop that we just announced, and we are going to talk about what you're going to talk about here in a minute. But how's that for you moving into some of these kind of workshops, trainings, things like that? Like, how's that been for you and your business?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, I am absolutely honored that you guys asked me to be a part of Calibrate. I cannot wait to speak at it. That was a no-brainer for me. But that is actually one of the major shifts in my business, is really taking that next step into education. You know, I think that all of us in our years of business, we pick up all of these little pieces of information throughout the years that we apply to our own businesses. And with it being such a collaborative industry, I'd argue that a lot of us are pretty close. It's very tight-knit, and to be able to share that knowledge, you know, I think about it with as many free resources that I've been able to take advantage of. It's sort of just a way of giving back to the community and feeding it so that we can all be better. You know, I'm very much an advocate for community over competition. So diving into the education space, I'm starting to feel that exciting discomfort that I felt when I launched my business. I reached a place where I was at a plateau where I was really feeling confident about what I'm doing. And, you know, when we're stagnant in our businesses, we're not growing. And I want to continue growing and making myself feel uncomfortable. So that is now what I'm after as far as education. And I think that my approach to filmmaking and a lot of the intention that I put behind it has really inspired me to teach other filmmakers about more of the intangible things. You know, there's so many experts out there in our industry teaching on gear, business, marketing. I think that what I have to offer really comes down to the intention in our branding and our storytelling, the way that we approach storytelling in our film and post-production process. I think that there's so much opportunity to expand on that part of our industry that I think could really take people's films to the next level.
Yeah, I like what you said there about, comfort and that sort of thing. Something that my wife and I have been talking about often lately is, growth. Growth doesn't happen from a place of comfort. It's one of those things. If you want to be better, you need to do something that scares you. You need to do something that kind of, I don't know if I should do this. It might fail, but it also might succeed. Just that place of unknown. And I'm grateful that you are leaning into that. I'm sure that, as we've been kind of talking today, you kind of taking your relationship with, your second shooter, to do an office space together, and kind of what will that lead to? Like, I'm sure that that's a little bit, there's some uncomfort in that, just because you don't know, now, like, okay, we're signing a year-long lease, or, even just that, like having this place now, that can be uncomfortable. But I appreciate that you have that attitude, and you're like, well, I've been presented with this stuff. I'm going to lean into it and kind of see where it goes. And, one thing that I think that you have done very, very well is in leaning into that sort of stuff is with yourself and your brand. And, I would say that, Blnk films are one of those ones where as soon as it kind of starts, you're like, oh, that's a Blnk film. Like, you kind of have this identity in your film, and you've really established this brand and this voice, for who you are as a filmmaker and the art that you create, and, that sort of stuff. So and I know we kind of touched on this one, the last one, but how have you really like leaned into, being you, and being yourself, and finding your voice whenever you're creating your films, when you're creating your art? What do you do? What's your kind of thought process so that you're continually leaning into that, so that people can, experience the stuff that's in your heart and in your mind as you create, your films?
Yeah. I really love that question. I appreciate what you said about all of that. Just to touch on that, yes, I'm not claiming to have it all together. This new phase, we've signed our life for the next 3 years to this space. It's extremely uncomfortable. It's extremely scary, but I know it's going to be great. To answer on your question, though, man, it's kind of a multifaceted answer, because I think part of my brand and my voice within Blnk, I say it all the time, but it's literally a direct reflection of who I am as a person. I think growing up, I don't want to say that I was made fun of for it, but I think a lot of people noticed that I'm very empathetic. If anyone's familiar with the Enneagram, I'm a type 4 through and through. And I think that just natural inclination to feel and express myself creatively really lends it well in this career. And when it came down to just like getting interested in filmmaking and capturing these little moments in my life, I had a conversation with my dad, and he's just like, do you realize like how cool that is, and what a gift that would be to be able to capture that for other people? I think that we're so quick to go through our daily life that we don't stop and take the time to really invest in like cherishing our memories. And that in itself is just like one of my guiding values in my business, of just thinking about the importance of what it is for people to really cherish their memories in an artful way. I think that that idea in itself really lended itself to my voice in Blnk, because it's taking this natural skill set that I have as a person to be an extreme empath. I am very creative. I love expressing myself through art, but to be able to apply that to other people's stories for the purpose of enhancing their life, for them to watch something back and be like, oh my gosh, that's me. That's our wedding day. I get to see myself through this new artful, exciting lens. Like, that has just helped me so much lean into that why so much more. I think we can get so caught up watching these other films, and I still do it sometimes, where I'm like, man, it'd be fun to kind of be more of that, but that wouldn't be me and my work. And that's always been my goal in Blnk, is for people to watch a film and be like, yep, that's Kathryn's for sure. Because it's just a direct reflection of what comes naturally to me, and something that I love to do is just creating beautiful things with intention.
So I have a thought on that, if I might. So you talk about establishing your brand, and I think that when I look at your brand, it is established. Like, it is solid. It's changing, but it's your identity. Your brand runs through and through, from your profile picture all the way through everything that you do. It's you. And that's, because you're you know yourself very well. If someone's out there, a lot of people are kind of trying to find themselves. They might not have gotten to that point where they're just like, well, I don't know what my brand is. I don't know what I want. What would you recommend to somebody that is trying to establish their brand?
Yeah, well, I think you need to first decide whether you want to immerse your personality into your brand or not. I think there are many, many incredibly successful brands that aren't necessarily a direct reflection of the filmmaker. I think my approach is the opposite end, where I did want to immerse myself in my brand. But I think first you need to decide whether you want to create an entirely new brand identity and personality, or if you want to create something that's an artful reflection of you and what you put into your work. My background and my education is in brand design. It was something that I focused on throughout college. So I think that was a really amazing skill when it came to starting my business. But as filmmakers, you think about all the hats that we have to wear, that I think the problem that a lot of new filmmakers are especially facing is there's so much to think about, so much to focus on, that we can be so quick to just run and gun and dive into our work and figure out how to make better wedding films and do this and this and this. And you're growing in your business, but you've put your brand on the back burner. And that in the end is very, very hurtful. I'd argue that branding is probably the most important foundation when it comes to creating a successful business, because in that process, you identify what your mission is, what the why and the meat behind your business. Starting there and really knowing why you're doing what you're doing and who you're doing it for. Taking the time to really think about our target audience and our overall brand feeling. Like, these are the things that are attracting your clients initially. This is their first impression. And to have that be seamless from initial impression to them inquiring with you, to their experience with you, and through until the delivery of their film, that's going to leave them with a feeling. And that's why branding is so important. Is successful brands ignite a feeling. They establish trust. I think that there's so much that goes into it, that it's not something that should just be overlooked and slapped together, because when you have a solid brand, good films, great business and marketing strategies, you're unbreakable.
Yeah, that's really good.
Definitely. When I think you absolutely are right. Whenever you start get going with anything, you have all of these things that you need to do. And so you're just like, well, I'm going to haphazardly kind of put something together, whether it's your branding or, your emails or your website, all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to kind of put it together and figure it out. And obviously, John and I are believers in, getting started. It's better to get started today and kind of work things through, but at the same time, having a really good idea of what you want your brand to be about, so that you can continue to fine tune that, because it is an experience that you want your clients to have, is to have a solid, relatable experience from the time that they find you through delivery of their wedding film, and you say, thank you so much, for hiring me. Great stuff, Kathryn. I appreciate you sharing that. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go to break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about more stuff with Kathryn from Blnk Films.
Hi, it's Michael from Wedditor. We want to thank everyone for the incredible support we've received since sponsoring How to Film Weddings. Yes, we've had some growing pains, but we've had far more wins. And we're doing something that's never been done. We're a remote team of over 50 editors in 10 countries. I often joke that we're as much a logistics company as we are a creative company. Right now, demand is off the charts. And we don't just say yes to everyone and scramble to figure it out. That's why we're asking you to help us help more of you. In short, we're looking for more talented wedditors. part-time or full-time, work from where you want, when you want, as long as you hit deadlines and deliver quality. It's a chance to get paid while growing as an editor. Our project managers work with you, explaining why something feels right or doesn't, because there's always a reason. If you're interested, we'd love to hear from you. Go to wedditor.com/editor and fill out our form.
All right, we are back from break. I'm bringing us back. Nick took us away, but I decided to bring us back from break here. We're with Kathryn from Blnk Films. We were talking about branding and about establishing your brand. And I wanted to start the segment with the question of the day presented by Wedditor. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. So the question of the day for me is like, where do people miss it when it comes to their branding? Like what are we not talking about? Or yeah, like you actually have a background, a degree in this sort of stuff. So where do you see people just, when you talk to them, when you do mentor sessions, when you do all these things, where are people missing it with their brand?
Oh, this is just my personal opinion, but I like something that has really stuck with me ever since I've been learning about branding is having a rationale for every creative decision you make. You know, being able to back it with a why. Why are you making the decisions that you're making? And I think, I mean, you see it all the time. There are a lot of brands in this industry that look like copy and pastes of one another. You know, there's fads following along with just, you know, the hot new logo right now, but it's about so much more than that. Just as we create stories in our films, we should have a story in our brand. And I think a lot of people out of panic are just trying to slap something together and have it functioning, which, hey, like my first website that I had for Blnk Films, it is not what I wanted it to be. And I don't blame people. I understand that we do have a lot to focus on. But it's really important to just take the time to evaluate and think about the brand that you want to create. And kind of going back to what I was saying about whether you want to immerse your personality into your brand or not, for people who don't necessarily want to be the face of their brand, start thinking of a brand story that you would fall in love with. Like, we really interact with brands everywhere on a daily basis, everywhere we go. And thinking about the products that you buy, I always think that Apple is such a good example. Like there's clearly a reason why we're always so attracted to getting the newest phone, even if we don't need it, or if so many people hold on to Apple's boxes that their phones come in, that their products come in. There's a reason that is, you know, like Apple is targeting something in us. They have a brand story where they're forward thinking, it's clean, it's sleek, it's sexy, like it's something that we're attracted to. And there is a reason why you're attracted to and buy the products that you buy. And it's the exact same with services. So I think that a lot of people miss the mark because they don't think about the story that they're trying to sell through their brand. They don't think about branding with intention. I think that sometimes their brand voice is lost or inconsistent, where all of these things just exist in a beautiful dance with one another, but to take the time to really establish the story that you're trying to tell gets you heaps and bounds ahead.
Yeah. A couple of things. One, I think that just a resource that I know of, that John knows of, Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand is a great book for you to kind of go through as if you want to build a brand and you want to take your clients on a journey, you know, from beginning to end. That's a great book. Another thing that you touched on, you know, you're talking about slapping stuff together and, you know, just making stuff, or this is just the kind of style of logos of 2020 and, you know, whatever that stuff. My wife was a graphic design major in school, and the one thing that I learned from her is because it's cool is not a good enough answer. Like, she was like, there were so many people that they would build this art thing and the professors would be like, or, you know, design something. Why'd you do that? Why did you use this color? Why did you do this? And they're like, I just liked it. And they were like, no, that's not good enough. You need something deeper. And even as you're talking about Apple, you know, you're like, it's sleek, it's cool, it's sexy, but we want those things. Even though they are cool, like it's ingrained in us for something deeper, because they, you know, it's cool is not a good enough answer, so they have a deeper process with that. So a couple things I wanted to share.
Yeah.
John, I know you have something you want to add.
I always just like listening to Kathryn as much as possible. My only 2 cents that I was going to add over there while she was talking, when I first started Redeemed Productions, like in 2007, I had just finished college. I knew of these things, but I didn't know how to implement them into my business. And I just kind of like put together a logo. I needed a name for a hockey tournament that I was filming, and I became Redeemed Productions. I had no idea what I was doing. I made a logo on like clip art. I didn't know what I was doing. And there was no why behind any of it. And honestly, from like 2007 to like 2017, I never really, I just was like, I would change my style. I would slow motion guy, fast motion guy, widescreen guy, anything that just was like, whatever's cool. I'm just trying to sell stuff to make money. And you can live there as a business and continue to chase those trends, and you can make good money. I made good money. But the problem was it was really unfulfilling and boring work at a certain point. I wasn't attracting my ideal clients. And whenever I really started to, take down that tower I had built brick by brick and saying, I actually don't want to shoot that kind of wedding. I actually don't want my brand to attract this kind of, that's when I started really turning that ship. And it took a couple of years, but now as I'm transitioning from Redeemed Productions to John Bunn Films, I know exactly who my brand is. And even before releasing my new website, my new branding, my new logo, like my why is so solid and who I'm trying to attract is so solid that I've already started just only getting those kinds of people just based on my Instagram posts or my editing style. And so instead of me trying to like flip-flop back between, well, this is what's cool or that's what's cool, I know what I want to be doing and why I want to be doing it. I know that nostalgia is really important and the heirlooms are really important. And I know all these things about why I'm doing what I'm doing. And until then, I'm doing good work, but now I can see like this excellence coming through in my work and this next level, and people messaging me being like, wow, your edits these days, the footage, the couples, like, how did you do this? And so that all flows together to getting these killer films. And the quicker you can focus on those things, the quicker you can get to where you want to go. I talked a long time. Kathryn, this is about you. Anything that you want to say?
I truly, I love what both of you were just saying. And it's so, so true is when you have really taken the time to establish a brand that you are so confident in, your experience running your business is that much more fun. You're working with the people that you love. You're attracting the experiences that you love. And in turn, they're having a better experience by working with you. They're your people. A certain type of wedding is your type of wedding. But it's all just a really interesting topic. And I know that you guys, both of you recently went through big rebrands. And even for people, I mean, having a background in it, thankfully I've been able to create a lot of this stuff by myself, but most of us don't know anything about brand design, and it's a great investment to make in our business. But something that I want to point out too is even if you're hiring out a professional, and I'm curious about what your experience was like this, but even if you're hiring a professional to help you establish your brand, you have to still know these things so that they can build the best brand for you. I'm sure you guys probably went through a pretty elaborate process before she even designed anything. I think that, for them even to do a great job of making a brand for you, you have to be solid in what your brand is.
Yeah. Whenever we went through that last year and John hired the same designer that Jen and I did for our business, but I mean, it was before we even did anything, it was a questionnaire with like 25 questions on it, and they weren't just like, what's your name, I mean, it was deep stuff like what are you attracted to in life? What kind of stores do you like to shop in? Who is your ideal client? What do you want people to feel and experience? I want you to go on Pinterest and create a mood board of how you want people to feel through pictures, just all this stuff. It's a very extensive process. And it took us a good, 6 months, 7 months from like initial contact through, hey, we have our new website and, we have all this stuff. It took a long time, but one of the things that happened through that, was now we have like an intentional, our name Wild Oak Films actually means something. It's not just something that Jen and I came up with. It was like, oh, that sounds really trendy and outdoorsy and cool, which it does. But, we wanted something even more than that. And, we can actually talk to you why we chose that name and what that means to us. And just the colors that we used. And Jen was, because of her art background, she had a lot, I think, deeper thoughts than I did about it. But, it was a long process that was really good for us. And now we're, a year later after launching this thing, we're really starting to see the benefits of all of the hard work that, we did for the years before. And then, those 6 or 7 months of like doing the redesign. Now we're really seeing now these clients that have bigger budgets that, want our look and want our feel are willing to pay for us. And it all, with that intent of saying, we want to know what our business is about and what our brand is about and who we are. So that was my going through it. John, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I would love to know, so Kathryn, your background is more in this. Whenever since we've chatted with you last on the podcast, your website has been redone, re-updated, things like that. But more so than just your website, like what are you thinking about when it comes to your brand and what you're wanting people to feel with your brand? But like, what things outside of just like, here's my website or whatever, like how are you infusing that into the entire brand? Because I think people think of a brand as a logo. But what things are you thinking about?
Oh my gosh, a brand is everything from your initial impact through until delivery. So things that I'm thinking about are, especially because I am more of an emotional filmmaker, I want to invite people into that space based on the palette that I choose, my brand voice, the way that I talk about my films, like everything. I mean, I could go on about it, but something that immediately comes to mind is even just the way that I write my captions on Instagram. What I provide and show in my brand is what I expect to receive from my clients. So by being like, when it comes back to my values of really just wanting to be an open, vulnerable, transparent brand, I share that just in the way that I write my films. I'm not afraid to share my struggles and what I'm going through. And this isn't just like what I'm doing is what everyone should do. It's just something that comes naturally to me that I build off of. But expecting that from my clients, wanting them to be open and invite me into their emotional experiences, I think they feel that much more comfortable doing so by the way that I present myself when it comes to phone conversations. Like I always joke that I'm a person that's horrible at small talk and I won't remember what you do for a living, but I'll remember your greatest heartache or things that you're going through in your life. It's who I am, and I've played off of a lot of that into my brand in the colors that I chose, in my name, in my logo, my website, the way that I curate my Instagram, the stories that I share, even with my client delivery packages, having those extremely personalized and special and something that feels unique and honest to them. It's like everything should be kind of woven together through every part of the experience. It's so much more than a logo. It's so much more than a name. A brand is a feeling. It's a story.
So good. So good. You said earlier you were an Enneagram 4. And whenever I saw your first work, my wife and I watched it, and she just looked at me. She goes, "She's a 4." Like, didn't even just by watching your film. And now, as I'm like hearing you talk about this, like you're talking about the importance of 4s. For those of you that don't know, like being authentic is very impersonal. Or not impersonal, very important.
I was like no, that's not a 4. That's a 3.
Yeah.
No,
Just being very authentic. And, you're talking about, I'm terrible at small talk, but, I just want to get right. Just that whole thing about being authentic. And you have taken that side of you, those things that are important to you and you value, and applied that to your business. And so now, whenever you lean into who you are and you lean into those things, now you are starting to get clients that want authenticity. They want that authentic relationship. They want those real bold moments shared because those are the things that you are attracted to. And so you've just set everything up in this way that's it's this very like circular thing, which I know didn't happen overnight, right? You didn't just put it out there one time, but you have continued to work at it. And so you've been able to take these and build these incredible films, but the whole experience is what you're talking about. And I don't know where I was going with that, John, as always.
Every time you do that, you remind me of Michael Scott when he's like, sometimes I start a sentence and I don't know where it's going. And then, anyway. No, this is all really good stuff. We need to go to one more break, but when we get back, we're going to talk about Calibrate. We're going to talk about a couple of more things, Nick, as you say. We're going to talk about stuff right when we get back.
Let's talk about some stuff.
Finding the perfect song for your wedding film can be so frustrating. We spend countless hours searching for the perfect song. When it comes to licensing music, Nick and I both love MusicBed. Not only do they have the best music, but their website makes it so easy to find the perfect song and to find it fast. We have both been using the MusicBed's wedding subscription for years and cannot recommend it enough. Not only are they adding new music from incredible musicians like Chapters, The Light, The Heat, and Tony Anderson all the time, they've made it incredibly easy to search their library for mood, genre, instrumentation, and even key. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed and use promo code HTFW for a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription. howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. All right, we are back from break, and we're going to talk about some more stuff with Kathryn from Blnk Films. It's going to be great stuff. We've been talking about stuff, and we're going to talk about more stuff. This is going to be the
thing, like, for the next 25 episodes, isn't it? Where you just say the word stuff over and over again to make fun of me because I didn't dangle the carrot before the break very well.
You did a great job, and so I love the stuff that we've been talking about, Nick, and if it's okay, we can talk to Kathryn, or Katie, depending, on what stuff she wants to talk about. But in all seriousness, we've been talking about, like, this establishing your brand and your voice and infusing that into your films and infusing your personality, and that attracts the right clientele, that attracts the right people. So we kind of touched on it, but, like, whenever, like Nick said earlier, when Jen, his wife, watched your films, it's like, oh, she's a 4. Like, she could just tell the kind of person you were by watching your films. So once you know this brand, how do you infuse that into your actual filmmaking?
Yeah, so I really, when it comes down to it, your films should reflect your brand. You want those styles to be really, really complementary of one another. Someone that immediately comes to mind who does this incredibly well is Bottle Brush Films. I love, love, love their brand, and they're so clear in what they do and who they attract. And man, the clients that they attract are just magnetic to what their brand represents. And I think that's a perfect example. If you guys aren't familiar with Bottle Brush, go look at their website, check out their work. They're amazing. But their films look like their brand in art, in an artful form, the way that they tell stories through wedding filmmaking. And that's something that I strive to do too, is have my films carry on the feeling and the story that my brand is telling. So with my brand being more moody, more emotional, more transparent and vulnerable, I carry that into my filmmaking, in really diving into the story in the post-production process, thinking of unique, new, artful ways to craft my edits, really thinking of ways to tie symbolism in there. I think that the way that I approach my work is always inspired by my brand. And I think for a lot of people, if you have an existing brand, it's not like you have to scrape it and start over. Like, I'm sure, Nick, with Wild Oak, you just took some steps backwards to evaluate and put yourself on a track that you want to go down. It's not like Wild Oak Films just had to be scratched and done. It was just a refresh was necessary, and you did that, and look at what it's done for you and the films that you're making. And you too, John. Like, it's just it makes so much sense when you really break it down step by step, that I don't think that we can really do one without the other, or like you said, John, you just get to a place where you become like stagnant and bored. So I don't know if that really answered the question, but I think just having your films really carry on and reflect what you've worked so hard to build.
Yeah. No, it definitely does make sense. And I know you're going to actually, during Calibrate Workshop, which is like, 10 days away as we're recording this, or as this drops, it's not even a little over a week away. Why don't you talk about, just kind of tease the listeners on what you're going to be talking about during the workshop? Because I think it kind of fits hand in hand with what we're actually talking about here.
Oh, yeah. It's going to build off of everything that we've talked about in this episode. I'm really excited to share my knowledge on branding, and it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about as far as filmmaking goes. And I think that it's something that could be super helpful to listeners and people out there who don't necessarily know much about it. So a lot of what I'm going to be speaking on is your branding and knowing who you are, what it stands for, and really leaning into what makes you unique. And that is then going to carry on into creating intentional wedding films, carrying art into your wedding films, and not just making films that are beautiful, but making films that are beautiful and have a reason as to why they're so beautiful. That's really what's been my passion and backbone behind everything that I do. So I'm really excited to teach on more of those intangible subjects.
We're very excited to hear it. I'll have my notepad ready to be taking notes and learning, because you can never stop learning. You will be there at Calibrate, and if you haven't got tickets yet, calibrateworkshop.com. Before we head out today, where can people find you? Where's the best place for people to connect with you? Let us know. Where are you at on that?
Yep. So,
what stuff? Tell us some stuff.
You can find my website at blinkfilms.com. I'm on Instagram at blinkfilms. I have a YouTube. I've taken a bit of a hiatus, but I have an entire plan of stuff that I'm going to be dumping on there. So you can find me on YouTube /blinkfilms. And then also, in honor of Calibrate, I am very excited to have a free crash course guide that really touches on and provides exercises of what we've talked about today. So it's called The Foundation of Branding a Successful Business. I give you 5 tips that you can immediately apply to your business, things to think about, exercises to do. So you can find that at blinkfilms.com /calibrate and download that free guide there.
I love it, Nick. I almost botched something. I pretty much did botch something, so you can make fun of me when I was asking Kathryn about, her name and stuff, so you can make fun of me now. We're even.
Yeah. Way to flub it up.
It happens.
Flubber. Right. I don't know. See, I did it again. Kathryn, it has been incredible to have you on today. I know this is a topic that so many people, it's always in the back of their mind, and it's always something that, I'll get to later. I'll get to it, when I have some time or whatever. But it really is an important part in the foundation of your business. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We're excited to hear what you say at Calibrate here in just a few short days. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to speak at Calibrate. It's always an honor to hang out with you guys. I had such a good time.
Kathryn, thank you so much for being a part of our podcast today. We are so excited to hear you speak at Calibrate in just 10 short days. If you want to sign up, you can do that right now. All you need to do is go to calibrateworkshop.com, calibrateworkshop.com, and there you can get signed up to hear Kathryn and the other amazing speakers and presenters that will be speaking in this one-of-a-kind 2-day workshop. John, as always, it has been great to hang out with you. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, we will see ya.
See ya. Are you looking for a better way to deliver your wedding films to your couples? Look no further. Our friends over at WedFlow provide the most flexible video delivery solution on the market. WedFlow is pay per project with no large upfront cost or commitment, and you can cancel anytime. Not only that, WedFlow offers a premium viewing experience for your couples, accessible on mobile, tablet, desktop, as well as their very own suite of TV apps. Each project comes with 10 years hosting and an experience for your clients that will blow them away. Stop delivering your films the old-fashioned way and give your couples something to rave about. Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/wedflow to check out WedFlow today.